Thank you and welcome to Benin Studies Panel 2. We are on page 44 here. So if you want to see the different papers that were presented, they are all on page 44 of your So my name is Iziengbe Pat Ebuka Onoa. I'm a lecturer at the Department of History and International Studies, University of Benin. I teach African history and I teach Benin history also. My focus and my area of scholarship is actually on Benin women. I've worked on Benin women for the past 10 years, and I'm currently a PhD student at the University of Ibadan, and the title of my work is Benin Women International Prostitution and Free Boys. So today, in this panel which I'm organizing, we are going to be having 4 different papers. But yesterday we had the part 1 of Benin Studies panel, and one of our participants, who is Mary Sibo, she's right there. She could not present her paper because of the technical issues. So today she will be the first going to take her paper. So our paper is on page the first Benin panel study. What page is it again? 37. Thank you. Page 37. Benin Women and Migration by Mary Unoma. That's the first paper we'll be taking. After that paper, then we'll take the other set of papers. Then we'll take Traditional Songs Among the Benin by Edith Isoken. She's here right here, so you can come to the table. Then we're also going to be taking songs of Edo music legends and the rebirth of classical Edo music. That one is by me. And then we are going to be taking the Benin dimension of Ijo origins. We also take Digital Benin, digitalization of royal art treasures of Benin Kingdom by Usasana. This presentation, the other presentations are going to be online because the presenters are unavoidably available. So they will be online with us and they will do justice to those work. Then Ame, she's around physically, she's been here since yesterday, but I think she's not been able to get here now. She's going to be taking Rethinking Cultural Diversity, Language, Culture, and Threatening Identity in Benin Division of Southern Nigeria. She'll soon be here. University of Lagos. So thank you, everyone. I hope we have a beautiful deliberation. Thank you very much. So you can, the person online, you can help me on, yes. So can you hear me? Mrs. Sibo, can you hear me? So you can go on for your presentation.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You have 12 minutes for your presentation.
Okay. I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm so sorry I could not present yesterday. So let me quickly share my screen. So today I will be presenting on Benin women and migration, issue, challenges, and prospects. And there is an high incidence of Nigerian women migration to Europe and America. And so this seminar will surveil the origin and contending issues in Benin women migration to Europe and America. It will historicize diaspora migration from a gender perspective. It will also identify the economic and political factors fueling women's migration in Nigeria. The paper examines Benin women and their migration into different parts of the globe. It aligns the different challenges that surround the issues of migration in Benin and the prospect of migration. It examines the impact of Benin women migration to societal development. And then the agenda for this program is that in historicizing the development of Benin women migration to diaspora, the issue of migration is not a recent phenomenon. It's as old as the history of human development. So in history, we discovered that the first set of migration in Nigeria started through the slave trade. Our able-bodied men were taken through the slave trade to work in Europe and America. And subsequently, some Nigerian men joined this train as a result of educational pursuits. And these men subsequently came back to carry their spouse and some family members. But in 1980s, we discovered that there was high rate of Benin women migration to Europe and America. This is partly due to the increasing interest of feminist movement. This is what we can term as feminization migration. However, the strong motive for this reason, the strong reason for this was that a lot of Benin women, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
A lot of Benin women has always wanted to wanted to improve the status of their family. Okay, a lot of Benin women wanted to improve the status of their family, of their immediate family, and this has been one of the strong reasons that motivated them to.
Internet again. That's the issue we had with her yesterday. She was supposed to present yesterday. Same issue, yes. Let me send that message.
So I'm very sorry, my network is just unstable.
I think you can change location. Leave that part of your room.
I have.
Okay.
I have changed location.
Okay. I can hear you now anyway.
And so, okay. So the reasons why Benin women have decided to migrate to either Europe or America to improve the living condition of their family, particularly to increase the living condition of their family. And so there are several reasons. This paper looks at the economic and its related factors. It looks at the lack of job insecurity. It looks at high rates of unemployment, which is common around the country, not just peculiar to the Benin society. And to improve the living condition of their family was one of the major reasons that prompted these women to migrate to Europe and America. Then there's a close relationship between income status and health. Now, this has made it almost impossible for those that do not earn enough money or enough income to receive the desired health that they deserve. And so all these reasons are fueled economic reasons why Benin women have continued to migrate outside the country. Then we look at the political and its related factors: bad leadership and failed governance, unproductive government policies. Now, this is common on a global scale. This is common on a global scale, and it's not peculiar to the Benin society. When the government policy due to the harsh government policies, the reverse effect is that Nigerian women or Benin women tend to migrate out of the country. Then we look at human trafficking as a cause for diaspora migration. Yeah. This became very prominent in Benin society in the 1980s to 1990s as a result of the status. Now, Benin people tend to give a lot of respect or classify people that traveled abroad or that had one or two persons in diaspora. They tend to classify their family in a good social background, and so because of that, most parents actually wanted their female children to have one or two female children abroad. And so this has prompted, this now gave opportunity to traffickers to take advantage of this to recruit young women to migrate them to Europe and America. And then the traffickers rely on migrants' unfamiliarity with the new environment, the fact that they don't have a close social network, and the fact that they are undocumented citizens. They took advantage of this to exploit their labor for profits. Then we look at brain drain. Brain drain in recent times, women are beginning to develop their academic and professional development. And so a lot of them tend to want to travel abroad, particularly those in the health sector. A lot of them tend to want to travel abroad for a better opportunity or a better future. And Benin women is not left in this part, particularly those in the health sector. Then we look at Benin women in diaspora and the role to societal development. Now, these women in diaspora have contributed to the development of their self, of their family, of the society, and then even the nation at large. They will look at household poverty alleviation. Benin women in diaspora have contributed to tackling the socioeconomic issues in their immediate family and even their extended family. And so their remittance has helped to improve healthcare system in their communities. They have not just healthcare system; it has impacted on female education and have helped to reduce maternity, the high rates of infant mortality in Benin society. It has also helped to promote women entrepreneurs. There are some women I interviewed that had businesses in Benin that stated that their capital in starting business were given to them by their sisters or their family members abroad. And they discovered that the rate at which female remits back to their family is higher than the percentage of male that remits back to their family. And so they tend to encourage more of their female women to travel abroad. So they have helped to improve promote and develop women entrepreneurs in Benin society. They have also contributed in political and infrastructural development. There are some new developing areas in Benin where most of the fine houses and businesses are owned by men and women in diaspora.
Okay.
Especially if you go to residential areas, you see fine structures and buildings that are built by these women and men in diaspora. And so we look at women living in diaspora, the challenges and the prospects. One of them look at lack of accurate information. Now, one of the reasons why women we look at the fact that most Benin women do not have accurate information about migration policies, rules, and regulations. And this tends to have a negative effect on them when they embark on transit. I interviewed a lady that told me that while she was traveling between Morocco, between Castina to Morocco, they loaded her alongside with pineapple. Not just her, she and a few other women, they loaded them with pineapple, and then she got to Morocco, she was molested, she got pregnant for somebody she not even know the father of the child because of the constant molestation. Now, because they do not have accurate information on migration policies and rules and regulations, they tend to fall victim of all this. Then they have female migrants naturally face multiple barriers through regular channels, such as gender bans on migration, violence and abuse, discrimination on residents when depending on the spouse. Now, when Benin women are particularly faced with irregular migration. Now, this irregular migration has led to a lot of violence and abuse for them on transit. And they are confined mainly to service sector occupation in less regulated sectors in these developed nations that they have gone to, particularly in areas of hospitality, domestic help, child care, and all that. Except those that actually went through the regular channels for education tend to have a higher paid jobs or good or favorable jobs. Then you look at the authorities in most destination countries treat Nigerian migrant women with racial discrimination and little or no legal rights. Now, when you look at this aspect, you will discover that in cases of exploitation and abuse, the judicial system is not always controlled in favor of the abused worker, and then in spite of all these challenges that these women faced in diaspora, they are open to more opportunities for job, for financial independence, and an improved status in their homes, in their communities back in Benin. In fact, there's a way that Benin people tend to look at anybody that comes from diaspora with a very high regard, and they place them in a very high social status in Nigeria, in the Benin society. Not just in Benin society, I think it's peculiar to Nigeria society also. Then in conclusion, we look at womanhood and sisterhood among women need to triumph over racial and cultural differences to endanger a mutually beneficial gender relation and a concerted defense of women's rights in diaspora. And this is as a result of the fact that many challenges that these women face in diaspora is being motivated or is being promoted by their fellow women. Like the lady I interviewed that told me that several times that she was molested even in transit and in the point of her arrival. It was her fellow women, it was fellow Nigerian women or fellow African women that gave them out for molestation, even when they know that these people are going to be exploited or they are going to be treated badly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Sibo, for your presentation. It was a very beautiful presentation. I like the wider perspective in which you looked at the world by analyzing it from not just the trafficking perspective, which Europeans, Americans, and scholars all over the world are focused on in Benin. You are just looking at the migration issues in Benin. But I expected you to analyze what scholars in the past had said concerning these issues of migration and the focus in the past, which had always been international prostitution, trafficking in Benin, not looking at the migration issue, tying it to the economic reasons which have pulled the push and the pull factor, which have pulled people out of Benin, especially women, in making their own. And there's a very important point you made. How most of us are educated, you, I, and many of us that are from Benin are educated as a result of remittance that comes from Benin, which is from Europe, to Benin. Most of us would have been maybe primary school dropouts or even secondary school dropout, but we have gotten to the level of PhD as a result of this. And our family members from there up to today still support us. As I am here, I'm expecting a new laptop from my brother in Europe. So thank you very much. That's a beautiful one. The next presenter, who is yes, she's supposed to be the next presenter. Huh? Yes, by the okay, put him on. Said it's going so well. Oh yeah, let's take the next presentation, which is on the Benin digital Benin, digitalization of royal art treasure of Benin Kingdom. Yeah, there are the recent analysis on the return of our art in Benin and all that. That's what Godfrey is going to be looking at by keeping records of our art figures. And let's give him a time because Seth is going somewhere. It's not supposed to be his time now. Let's just give him space for him to do his presentation. So Godfrey, you can start your presentation right now. You have 12 minutes. Please make good use of your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The share and
okay.
Thank you very much. I hope you can all hear me loud and clear. I am Ekato, my son of Godfrey, and the title of my presentation is Digital Benin, Digitalization of the Royal Art Treasures of Benin Kingdom. And the Digital Benin project started around 2018-2019 with an expert workshop that was held in Hamburg. And the project was initially designed for a 2-year period, but after November, by September 2022, the first 2 years period has elapsed, and in November it was extended for another 1 year, which will end in September 2023. The objective of this project was to develop and design an online platform that will give us a digital consolidation of the Benin worldwide holdings. Because we found out that after 1897, Benin objects were globally circulated. They were looted by the British officials and sold to all parts of the world. So the project was designed in 4 phases, initially in 3 phases, but now with the 4th phase, which was data collection, creation of institution catalog, typology, and digital availability. The 2nd phase was to develop the prototype. The 3rd phase was the beta testing. And now presently we are working on archival documents and photographs. And this project was gradually funded by the Ensvosieme Sitong. The principal researchers of the projects were both from Europe and Africa. And then we have the project catalysts in America. So we worked with the team carried out this project working in 3 different time zones. And here are the names of members of the team. These are the principal investigators. We have Professor Kokure, who happens to be one of Benin's foremost experts on Benin material culture. And we have Professor Barbara Plankensteiner, Dr. Ann Luther, Dr. Jonathan Fine, and Dr. Felicity Bodestein, who are all in their own various field of profession experts in Benin material culture. Then you have the principal researchers. You have myself, the researchers on feed, those of us who did the feed work. And then we also have the development and design team, those who were in the technical aspect who developed or who designed the website. Then the content of the website was proofread and also was developed by these consultants. The consultants were Mr. Ako Bobafo, who is an expert in Benin, Professor Mr. Moregbe, who is a linguist, Professor Victor Saro-Edo, who is an African historian, Professor Oyilawa Uswanlele, who is an expert in Benin history and culture, is in America, and Chao Tianin, who is in Kenya. Now, as I speak to you, I'm talking about Digital Benin, www.digitalbenin.org. What is Digital Benin and why was it created? I've said before that it's a digital catalog and it was meant to give an overview of the material culture looted in Benin Kingdom in 1897 and globally circulated between 1897 and 1930. We are aware that there was once an offer to return certain objects that were gifted by the Oba in 1950, but these were not among the objects that were looted in 1897. As we proceed, I will be able to give you a summary of what this project has been able to unravel. Secondly, the project was designed to connect the royal art treasures of Benin Kingdom. We found out that for many researchers, both in Europe and in Nigeria, it was very cumbersome to be able to put together a couple of Benin ivory togs, Benin plaques, because they were all dispersed in different museums across the globe. And so Digital Benin have been able to bring this together digitally, creating a digital museum. How was this done? We use what we call the application programming interface. Many museums already had their data digitized. The website or the project team, through this website, just created a connection. We have a connection layer, which I'll show us if time permits, created a connection within the museum data without altering the structure of this museum data. So today, I can confidently tell you that there are over 800 Benin bronze plaques which were looted in 1897 from Benin Kingdom. And each of these bronze plaques is a page in the history of Benin. How do we do that? You'll be able to enjoy this platform by just opening and searching for bronze plaque. And all of the institutions that holds a bronze plaque will be shown, all the bronze plaque will be shown, their data, everything will be shown to you. We also went ahead to collect oral history because we needed to show, we needed to ascertain, we needed to justify the fact that these are parts of the history, the civilization, and the culture of Benin people. So we went out to collect collection of data and photographing of some treasures in Nigeria Museum. So among the museums that we were working with, the National Museum in Benin and Lagos, we were the only two that had data about Benin objects that were not yet photographed. So we went ahead and photographed this to create a digitization of these materials. So how do we use Digital Benin? Is it just enough to create a website? Is it just enough to connect this material culture digitally? The catalog is open access. You don't need to pay. You want to know anything about Benin today, you have a website that tells you about the early history, that gives you an insight into the early history of Benin, into the period of the Benin monarchs, and into how these objects are being produced and used by the Benin people. You have the website that is accessible through all kinds of devices. So as I'm talking to you, if you open your phone and just go to Google and type digitalbenin.org, with your mobile devices, you can access this website irrespective of the high resolution of the images and videos that are on this website. The website was built and has been able to connect 131 museums across 20 countries, and the data they've transferred are 5,246 objects. So apart from objects that are with private collectors across the globe, before now, there was speculations about, 20,000 objects were looted in Benin, 3,000 objects in the British Museum, 200 objects. With this website, we cannot say, at least more accurately, that 5,246 objects are in museum collections across 20 countries in the world. And these objects are all related to 1897 British invasion of Benin. The project phases I've mentioned before, and this is the website. In the website, when you want to explore digital Benin, you will find out that there is a space called EYOTO. EYOTO means foundation in Benin. In the course of collecting this data, we realize that out of this 131 institutions, many of them have wrongly categorized and grouped this object. Imagine a Benin bronze plaque that depicts a war scene, that records a war event in Benin, being called sports and games by a European museum. So here, under EYOTO, each of these object groupings are identified by their Benin names. And these Benin names were voiced by professionals like Professor Mr. Moregbe and Mr. Ako Okobafo. We have the catalog. The catalog shows you where we connected all objects according to object groupings. So if you pick ivory tusk, you will see all the over 500 ivory tusks across these 131 institutions. If you go to the institutions, you will see all the museums according to the countries. For instance, in Germany, you will see the number of museums that are Germany. In Nigeria, we have 2 museums that has collections from this period. In America, you will see the number of museums that are from this period. So that's what we have under institution. Provenance. Under provenance, we have how did these objects get to Europe? Who were those that took them from Benin? Who did they sell it to in Europe? Who were those that bought it in Europe? Which institution collected it from them? And then we have another interesting part, which is the interactive map. Many people, particularly descendants, I could therefore refer to the second generation of Benin people, like my sisters have been talking about migration to Europe. Many of these children born in Europe do not even know anywhere in Benin, neither do they know the history of Benin. But when you come to the map, apart from seeing the institutional map, you also see a map of Benin where, as an integral part of our research, we've been able to identify historical sites in Benin. And this is the way of teaching and showing the rich cultural heritage of Benin people and showing that Benin itself is a monument and Benin City is a living museum. We have oral history. The oral history session show a collection of fieldwork which I and my research assistant in Benin did. We went out to the field, collected tradition from Benin people.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, you have just 1 minute, so you have to round up. Beautiful presentation. So you have 1 minute.
We have this oral history session that spoke to the history of Benin people, that talks about the significance and relevance of this object to the Benin people, so that this object should no longer be conceived as idols, but rather as part of the rich civilization and technological know-how of Benin people. So if you go into the website, you'll see the process of production, you'll see the process of usage that talks about the significance and functionality of these objects. Then we have Itendo. Itendo in Benin means the history of Benin people. After 1897, a lot of the history of Benin people were narrated by Europeans who had invaded Benin. Many of them call it a description. You cannot describe for people their lived experiences. So here we went into the field, did a research on Benin history, and we used accounts from Benin authors without reference to European accounts. So the Itendo is a narration of Benin history as said according to the Benin people. And also there are the media that shows you some 3D effects. So a whole lot has been put into digital Benin. First, because we wanted to show that the history of Benin has been associated from Benin people through this global dispersal of the Benin material culture. Thank you very much.
Wow. That was a beautiful presentation and very important issues that he raised, that our artifacts, which are located in different parts of the world, they are not just artwork. They carry our history. They are what we use in analyzing our historical antecedents. I remember during my master's, during the process I was writing my master's thesis, I was writing on Benin women. In fact, it was this artwork that I analyzed, and the whole work would have been a shambles without my artwork. So you find out that the history of Benin is tied to our artwork. So it's very, very important for us. Thank you very much for that presentation. Then we're going to take the next presentation, which is traditional marriage songs and Benin amongst Benin by Edith Isoken, a rock by Diamond. The floor is for you now. I was supposed to introduce that. Just tell me
good morning, everyone. My name is Edith Isoken, a junior research fellow from Institute for Benin Studies. I'm here to present on the topic traditional marriage songs among the Benin people, changes and continuity. My paper attempts to discuss songs rendition in the Benin traditional marriage, which is otherwise known as customary marriage. A lot has been written by past and present scholars on the different aspects of Benin traditions and ceremonies. But the cultural glamour of Benin and the music accompanying marriage ceremony has not been examined. From time immemorial, many events of importance are celebrated with songs or music, be it marriage, a birth, and other ceremonies or rite of passage, because songs doesn't just provide identity and the opportunity. But you need to see the source. Song doesn't just provide identity and the opportunity to tell others about your culture. It also serves as a mix of passing your messages across, especially in the aspect of ritual functions, either in the context of religion or secular rituals like dance parties. And it also serves as a means of preserving history. Hence, a single verse in a song can tell you the history of a people. So, first of all, I would like to give us the definition of marriage as it is amplified in Benin terms. Marriage is an often legally recognized union between two opposite sex, which is regulated by law, belief, attitudes, which prescribes rights and duty to the people, and also status with their children. We have different types of marriage. First is religious marriage, which is recognized in accordance with the religious rites. The second is the statutory marriage, which is also organized in accordance with marriage acts. Then the next is the traditional marriage, which my paper is concentrating. Now, I would like to talk on the unique concept of Ubioha. Yes. So the belief concept of bridegroom, we all have in Benin, a bridegroom is referred to as Ubioha. Ubi in Benin means an unmarried maiden. while Oha means an unmarried man or a widow in Benin. And the Benin people practice patrilineal kinship system, which traces relationship through the father's line, where every lineage traces its origin to a particular ancestor. And Benin is also a male-dominated society, where men are seen as natural protectors of women.
Okay. Hope you can see the slide. This is disrupting. Just pick the paper. And because your time is. You can be moving it for her. Just be moving it for her. Go on.
Okay. In the past, we have different stages of Benin traditional marriage. That was during the infant betrothal stage until it was abolished in the year 1934 by the British. These different stages were into three. First was the Iwomo stage. The second one was the Iwanemo stage, and the last one was Imyomo, which is also known as the Ukiome stage. So, and all these ceremonies were celebrated with songs. All these activities have songs that were accompanying them as well. For instance, at the Iwomo stage, which is also known as the infant betrothal phase, the songs rendered during this time was, at the birth of a child, suitors begin to visit the guest parents to indicate interest on her. So what happens is this. And any prospective suitors that visits the girl's parents, on his arrival, will raise an alarm. We say, "Siwo, Siwo, Siwo." Then other people within the neighborhood are expected to respond by saying, "Walking."
Oh yeah, man. No.
Siwo means celebration, celebration, celebration. Then the response, "Walking, what is it?" It means what is it? What is happening? Then the potential suitor is expected to respond by saying, "Oh yeah, no," meaning it is happiness, it is celebration. Then thereafter, other people from the neighborhood are expected to come and join in the celebration. Then they all come out and start singing, "Walking, oh yeah, no, walking, oh yeah, no, oh yeah, mama, oh yeah, no, oh yeah, me go, oh yeah, no." This literally means, what is it? It is celebration. What is it? It is celebration. Celebration of what? Celebration of a child. Celebration of what? Celebration of wealth. So thereafter, we'll now proceed to the Iwanemo phase. This phase is what I call the acknowledgement phase. This is when the people involved in this arrangement becomes aware of the arrangement made on their behalf. And mind you, the person that is making this arrangement, the suitor or the potential suitor, may not be doing this for himself. He could be doing it for his own son, who may still be very little, or who is within the same age bracket with that baby. So as they begin to grow up, the person who is involved in this contract is expected to be rendering services to these girls' parents in form of yam, which is a band of yam. In Benin, we call it ugiya. Then also kola nuts. Then in Benin, we call it ere. Then also gin and palm wine. In Benin, we call it ogoro. And also, during festivities like during Igwe festival and Ohop festival, is also expected to present a band of yam, which is ugiya, and the envelope leg to the parents of the girl. So now we'll not just proceed to the Imiamo phase, which is the marriage ceremony phase. That's the final phase. So on the final phase, what happens is that the bride is being prepared for departure to her husband's house. And during this process, 7 months notification is given to the girl's family. And another 13 days notification is also given. Then the guest ancestors is also notified with gifts like a jar of palm wine, 2 trays of sliced coconut with kola nuts on each. Then payment of a bride price, although it is a recent development in Benin, because in the past, bride price was not actually paid in Benin. It was believed that a suitor that must have been rendering services to a girl's father right from when she was born up to the time she attained a marriageable stage, when could have paid a bride price through those services. So, and also then bride departure to her husband's house. There are also songs rendered during these activities. The song is, while the bride is being taken to her husband's house, you hear songs like Obio has so weary, Obio has so weary, so this one literally means bride, take a step forward majestically. Take a step forward majestically. Come and take words. Come and take long life. Then, in a distance away from our husband's house, they begin to imagine. They begin to observe imaginary barriers. And during this process, you also hear songs like what this song literally means is that I'm being obstructed by Ikuba, my guardian angel. So it's preventing me from proceeding. And another song you can also hear again is what this literally means is that this moon that is shining everywhere also shines at Egari's village, but I'm being obstructed by the palace, and because of that, I'm unable to proceed to Egari, the great village. This one also has its historical significance, which time will not permit me to share. And meanwhile, while they are rendering these songs, they can remain there they can remain there and wait until the groom comes to settle them with money, kola nuts, and maybe palm wine. Then, by the time the bride arrives at the husband's house, the bride feigns shyness. The songs they also rendered during this process is Obioha miao, miao, Obioha miao, miao, Irodoiko, miao, Ishodoiko, miao, Obioha miao, miao. This song literally means that bride is blushing. She's blushing. Your husband, your father-in-law will not be an hindrance to you in this marriage. Your mother-in-law will not be an hindrance to you in this marriage. Nobody will be an hindrance to you in this marriage. So, in conclusion, the paper have been able to examine the significance of songs tradition, the Benin traditional marriage ceremony, its changes and continuity, and it has brought to the fore knowledge that the role of songs in Benin traditional marriage ceremony cannot be overemphasized, because it serves as a means of communication, as a means of expression, as a means of telling our history in Benin. And unlike what was obtainable in the past, ancient Benin traditional marriage as of no doubt experienced transformation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a beautiful presentation. This is because we do not have time. We would have had lots of songs that she would have given to us. But however, the paper is ready, and it will soon come up on academia.com before we go on full publication. Thank you. So you can view the paper from there if you want to learn more about this. Thank you very much. The next presenter is going to be looking at rethinking cultural diversity, language, culture, and threatening identity in Benin Division of Southern Nigeria. And our presenter is no other person than Aminara Sandra, the University of Idaho, University of Lagos. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Please, do you have my slide? Do you have slides? Can you please project it?
It's not. I think the format at which you created it with is not compatible with what you have. Yeah.
So we'll come.
This is
Yes.
okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oba that's up there.
It's
Swebo noro wa kiri norisi.
yes.
Ekome bono gogo. Runda ugame oge na osomo ken. All right, I can relate with some facial expressions in this room right now. And my son was bold enough to say to me, "Mommy, why are you speaking nonsense?" At my first attempt to teach him a new language. You know, so we begin to wonder, does decolonizing the imperialist imposition of language imply a traumatic transition from the English language to an independent African society? And should we therefore present a radically anti-colonial government, or is there a possibility for inter-ethnic centrality? My name is Amena Idab, and I'll be presenting on a paper titled, could you please go back to that first slide? Thank you. Rethinking cultural diversity, language, culture, and threatened identity in the Benin Division of Southern Nigeria. This project actually is a proposed project for my PhD. So this is just a test run, and I'm also sharing this as an opportunity for, you know, should I be fortunate to have a supervisor via this platform? Right. Next slide, please. African decolonization has been spurred by belief in the utilization of African ideas, African philosophy, and promotion of African culture, folklore, and imagery. It is true that African literature in foreign language is inaccessible to the vast majority of the African population. Yet, it is also true that African literature is inaccessible. Yet it's also true that African literature in African language is inaccessible and incomprehensible to a vast majority of Africans, right? Thus, can Africans recreate the spirit of unity by reviving communal history and roots, language and culture, which function as a source of homogeneity? Now, as introduction, information about pre-colonial African culture and local color are archived in ancient histories. All right, such historical accounts are prevalent in folklore, oral traditions, all right, literature, and through religion and its proselyting activities, Africans were encouraged to reject their previous beliefs and values to adopt the civilized ways of the Western world. And the impact of such is that is evidenced by Western imports that have denatured Africa to the extent of de-Africanizing ethnic classifications and ultimately deliberate deculturation, deprivations of Africa's local culture. Next slide, please. African language, next slide, slide 2, please. All right. Can you please go to the next slide? Thank you. This project will focus on problems of endangered languages, the social linguistic implications of language endangerment, and the examination of social processes relevant to the reversal of the dwindling forces of endangerment in Edo State, Nigeria. Next slide. Statement of a problem. Contemporary discourses on cultural diversity in a globalizing world is dominated by the eroding cultural values, norms, traditions, and language of the African nation. The post-colonial literature evolved as opposition to colonial discourses, as well as ideological representation of the colonized inherent in colonial narratives, spurred by the desire to reconceptualize and reconstitute their communities. Post-colonial writers' interest was to address the present historical and political issues prevalent at the time. Thus, evidence in post-colonial literature were a staunch display of nationalism, interweaving fictional stories with the public narratives of independence ideology. However, rather than view national identity as a fixed, common changing phenomenon, post-colonial writers recognize it as a historical construct constituted in particular by the narratives which particular communities, for example, tell themselves about who and what they are. Thus, literature is presented not only as a medium which reflects our social reality, but as a creative process that is conditioned by historical forces and social pressure. Again, views about the effective languages that currently challenge the identity of individuals in their societies, especially in our country, Nigeria, which is notable for multiple cultures and diverse traditions, deserve prominence in research. Of a special mention is the Benin Kingdom, that is Edo, which is known for rich cultural heritage and traditional practices that provide formidable teaching and learning processes in the area of integration and cultural studies. Now, we know that language is the hallmark of a people's existence. And undoubtedly, we can say that language is a tool for ethnic identity and cultural preservation. Then the literature on post-colonial intersection of cultural diversity, if we so define language, all right, the literature on post-colonial intersection of cultural diversity, cultural matrix, and cultural preservation needs to be formidably developed. Thirdly, through contextual settings and by means of oral transmission, the implication of cultural performances of the Benin people presented a fundamentally functional ethnic creativity. Albeit in contemporary times, such rich artistic merits have suffered ambivalent feelings through the ages of cultural globalization, which, however, manifests by way of religion, divorce from local culture, alienation or forceful ejection from traditional practices that are being perpetrated to be uncivilized, uncultured and murky. Next slide. Next slide, please. Thank you. Oh, yes. In line with Benin 2008, cultural studies should be concerned with practices, institutions, and systems of classification that are inculcated through population, particular values, beliefs, competences, routines of life, habitual forms of conduct, and so on. However, consequently, the loss of language indicates the loss of a people's identity, roots, cultural values, norms, traditions, and their cultural heritage. The vague notions of the Benin cultural values represent a microcosm only of the reflexive impact of colonial imperialism. More so, the adverse impact of the colonial language has pitted against pristine notions in reawakening the African identity. In localizing the global discourses in contemporary times, therefore, the Linguistic Association of Nigeria has awakened the consciousness of stakeholders, international organizations, media establishments, etc., to the grim reality of the Nigerian society, and that is that there are some already extinct languages in Nigeria, and over 400 Nigerian indigenous languages are endangered. Of the endangered indigenous languages, 158 are at the brink of extinction. Thus, Edo, the language of the Benin Kingdom, spoken by one of the historical pre-colonial kingdoms in southern Nigeria, West Africa, is rated one of the endangered languages that are gradually nosediving into extinction.
Yes.
Although few of the numerous studies of nationality have examined the more modern aspects of integration, ethnicity, and cultural diversity, curiously, despite the rise in cultural studies as an academic discipline, there are few attempts to readdress the more dynamic, ephemeral, and grounded way in which the Nigerian society will be affected as a result of the aftermath of its eroding languages. Since language is the means of communication, which also serves the purpose for integration, interpersonal relationships, inclusive connections, instruments of cultural assimilation and engagement, the loss of such rich medium of cultural heritage will signify the loss of its people's roots, the loss of identity, and it will impact negatively on economic development and cultural diversity. These concerns necessitate the urgency for this research, which is aimed at fostering, preserving, and advancing cultural diversity, language systems in southern region of Nigeria, and developing novel ideas that will broadly contribute to the literatures on cultural studies, integration studies, and identity in the modern global context. Similarly, still on slide 5, please. Similarly, there exists work focusing on problems of endangered languages, Nigerian national identity, as well as structural and social processes related to language extinction. Existing literatures, although relevant, provide little guidance in exploring pristine notions of African cultural values in relation to language death, which is a gap that this project, that authenticates the purpose of this project. Next slide, please. According to Falaye 2012, an understanding of the pristine notions is at the heart of any reawakening of the African self, any form of development, be it economic, political, or social. There is no real virtue in finding a sanctuary in complicated globalization on ethnicity, nationalism, and identity. Two, to reinstate the relevance of orality in literacy debate. Thirdly, to promote interest in local vernacular traditions of the Edo-speaking people in southern Nigeria. And fourthly, its purpose is to increase the level of awareness about the implications of eroding languages on local communication, on integration, and on cultural ethnic cultural diversity. Another purpose is to demystify the institutionalized myths that and contradictory notions that becloud vernacular culture. It's also to contribute to the knowledge lab on cultural studies. And finally, to analyze, evaluate, and present dynamic theoretical tools crucial for the preservation of the matrix of African cultural practices. Next slide, please. This leads to the research questions, which is one, the research is proposed to answer the following questions. How have the distorting patterns of cultural globalization impinged on ethnicity, nationality, nationalism rather, and identity? To what extent is orality literacy debates relevant? How can the Edo language be rekindled toward local vernacular tradition? Next slide. What are the implications of, yes, please, thank you. What are the implications of eroding languages on local communication, integration, and ethnic cultural diversity? Can the institutionalized myths and contradictory notions that become vernacular African culture be demystified? How does investigation of the effective language of the Benin Kingdom contribute to the knowledge lab on cultural studies? How effectively can analysis, evaluation, and theory preserve the matrix of African cultural practices? The African personality from identity question on this with regards to the research questions runs deeply through African history. It represents a marker. It represents a subject, a product. Thank you. Kindly go to the next. All right, this is the purpose research methodology. I have been told that I have just 1 minute left. Right. And African personality, the identity question runs through African history. This has represented the marker, the subject, a product or experiences sociologically, historically, and even psychologically. Thus, to have a true sense of identity requires a rethink of the past, a reorientation of the impact of the past on the present, and solutions via research formulations for effective decolonization. These concerns necessitate the urgency for this research. And again, I think it's aimed at fostering, preserving, and advancing cultural diversity, advancing language systems in the southern region of Nigeria, and developing novel ideas that will broadly contribute to the literatures on cultural studies, integration studies, and identity in the modern global context. Next. Thank you.
Thank you very much. She just gave us a hint into our proposal. So please, let's take notes, and during the question and answer section, let's pay critical attention to this work, and let's do justice to the work. Thank you very much. That was a beautiful one. For us who are from Edo State, Benin in particular, she has spoken the truth about the whole issue. Some of us, our children, can't even speak Benin language because lots of parents, when they are educated and they have money, they feel that the first thing they should give to their children is to make them speak English language, because that is the language they will use in the university if they are going abroad everywhere and all that. So there is, in fact, war against our language. So this is the reason for this. For us as Africans to first decolonize our mind. My husband keep giving our kids English name or Greek name. So that's my son behind my sister's back there. I insisted that this particular one must bear a Benin name. This is the at least I have one battle for two. I have one Imosi Jason, that is a Benin name, and this one is Uyosa, is a Benin name. At least let him have part of my identity. It shouldn't be missing just like that, because a Greek man will actually not give his children Benin name. Neither will a British man give his children Benin names. It is we that will give them Benin names and teach them Benin language, and our language is going into extinction as a result of neglect from parents. I'm sure your children don't speak Benin. Even mine, they are struggling, but at least we are doing well, little by little, because we are in Benin. They must surely speak Benin. Thank you very much for a beautiful presentation. And we are waiting for, is Iweke? Iweke, are you there? Iweke, are you there? Okay, we're supposed to be having another presentation by the Benin dimension of Ijaw origin, findings and origin. It's like he's not available. We have a third, we'll be having our third panel tomorrow. I think he will be there to present this, but since he's not available right now, I do not know what has happened. Maybe he forgot that his seminar presentation was for today. Tomorrow we'll get him. So lastly, let me take my presentation on sons of Edo music legend and the rebirth of classical Edo music. Please, I want to plead with the those in musicologists, the musicologists that are here, those in music department. I am not a musicologist. I am a historian. I just want to look at what has happened to our music in the past, and the changes that have evolved to this present time, the introduction of Afrobeat and all that. So give me a few minutes to do my presentation. First, I will try to play the music, so please don't roast me, I beg you. Thank you. Because if not to play the song. Start with Osamakwe. Thank you. So I'm starting with Influence Akaba and Two-Face Idibia. Influence Akaba, who is he? He's one of the sons of the Edo music legend. Influence is actually a young man who took music from his father, who is called Akabama. By the time I was growing up as a young teenager, the set of music we listened to was Akabama, legendary Akabama, Osayomore Joseph, the guitar master, which is Victor Wifo, Sir Victor Wifo, who is also a professor of arts and all that. So we listened to these people's song, we heard them, but this new generation of people, because in history we look what has happened in the past and the changes and the evolving changes that we go through in this present period. So you find out that in the past, these legends, the legends that I'm dealing with, which is first Osayomore Joseph, Akabama, Victor Wifo, and many others. I just mentioned those three. So these three people were all part of the Benin traditional cultural troupe. So from being part of the Benin traditional cultural troupe, they developed their own type of music and they moved from that level. When Emilio was analyzing the issue of the involvement of music, traditional music to modern music, he said most of the people that are doing Afrobeat today, they were all part of true cultural, true dance band, which had traditional roots. So they moved from the traditional group and began to form their own kind of music. I call it the Benin classical music, but I do not know what a musicology will call such songs. So these are people, they began to sing their own kind of song, a little bit of Afrobeat, some are calm, some you dance with it. These people began to create their own form of music. After creating this form of music, they became legends. They became popular, even beyond the shores of Benin. Some of them went to Europe, they went to America, they did concerts. They were, in fact, there was a point that Osayomore Joseph began to challenge the government of Nigeria. He was imprisoned during the Abacha period, during military regime, was imprisoned severally because he spoke against the government. That was how popular he became. So leaving them, because I'm dealing with the sons of Edo music legend and the rebirth of the classical Benin song. The song I just played is one. The person I just sang is what is his name? Akabama Jr., which is Influence Akabama. He is one of the songs of those legends. So what he did was that he took a lead from his father type of song, rebrand it, rebuild it, because his father led cultural troupe and built his own type of music. Now he's also taking from his own father's song and rebranding it into what I can call native type of hip hop song. You see that he did a collabo with Two-Face Idibia. If you don't know Influence, but you know Two-Face Idibia here, isn't it? He's our legend in Nigeria. So for him to get to the level we call him the Benin Bonner Boy, the Benin Davido and all that. That is how important this young man is. And his father was a musician. And this young boy, he will pick all his father's old song and begin to remix it. He had his own song, but he also remixed his father's song. Then I'm also going to look at Osayomore Joseph's son. Please, you bring his song. Who also had, is actually, yes. No, continue. So this is Osayomore Joseph's song, one of his sons. It has it has about 4 sons that are singing. This one is in the US and he's doing fantastically well in the US. He remixes his father's old song, rebrand it, raps on it, and is selling and is doing so well. So a young man called 24-bit recently now introduced the concert of Sons of Edo Music Legend concert. And this concert have moved these young men from the shores of Benin to all around the world. They've done tours in Europe, they've done tours in Canada, and in the next few months, they are going to the United States of America and other nations. These young men have been doing so well, and you see the acceptance among the Benin community in the diaspora, knowing that our Benin community is highly powerful. So many Benin community in all over the world. You see these young men making even those that were born in Europe and America begin to accept Benin song, understand Benin tradition as a result of that song. That song that you just listened to is as old as somebody was talking to me that they do not remember how long that song has been, maybe more than 100 years. It is a cultural song. His father took it and used it for his own classical song. Then his son is taking the same song back, because if you are not a deep Benin person, you will not be able to understand what they are even saying. These are deep Benin language that have been analyzed in this song. You see that even this song are helping the Benin people to preserve their culture, their language, their value. Young people, that is my younger sister. She's just like maybe 22 years, 23 years. These people were not interested in Benin song, but right now she has this song in her phone. Place them, listen to them, enjoy them as a result of these young men remixing this song, building them, making it more acceptable to both the old and the young. So my work is just I don't want to take more of the time. My work is just to look at the historical antecedent of Edo music legend and how they have transformed music. So these people have a particular song they call Story Concert. This song brought all the music legends, their songs together, and they all sang the best song of their father. And these are taking Benin song globally. Even you even have Fuji among them. You have a musician, Bayo Ade, who sings Fuji. His father is Bayo Ade. Though he's a Benin man, he bears Bayo Ade for the Yoruba society in Benin. You have Yoruba community in Benin, so he sings for them. He bears the Yoruba name, or his real name is Omoreke, which is a Benin name. So he transformed himself, and his son today also bears the same Bayo Ade Jr. And he's also moving with this theme to different parts of the world and celebrating Edo music in the global form. Thank you. Okay, so as the organizer of the panel and the chair and also the presenter, I want to give the floor to everyone. We start from here. If you have questions, like you heard her, she in particular, she presented her proposal to us, and you have questions. Huh? Someone wants to speak? Okay, is it Godfrey? Okay. Okay, we have questions there. Okay, let's take from here first. Then we'll go back to them so that we finish those here. And you are 1, then 2, 3, 4. Thank you. 1.
Okay. So I'm not conversant with the Benin culture, but I think from this panel, this session, it's been a wonderful time, and in terms of understanding certain cultures of the Benin, and especially in terms of marriage, music, popular culture, because that's my area, popular culture precisely. And then I would like to ask, I was fascinated by the digital Benin, digitalizing Benin culture. And then I would like to ask a question. How does the idea of heritage, the non-human objects, the objects of belief, help to foreground or reinforce issues of masculinity. Because I'm aware that, of course, there are certain artifacts, objects that help to reinforce identity and personhood, right? So within the context of repatriation and within the context of the migration of artifacts, are there conversations of masculinity in terms of that attachment that men, in quotes, have towards the objects? And not only men now, but even within the larger context of gender, right? So I'm interested in understanding that part, and if they are, basically.
Okay, that's okay. I'll give few minutes to Godfrey. Godfrey, are you here with us? Can you hear me? There's a question directed to you right now. You have 2 minutes. I know that if I give you 1 hour, you will not finish that question. And you have just 2 seconds to handle that question. Please, 2 minutes.
Thank you, my chair, and thank you very much to the person that asked the question. It is really pitiable that within our present generation of Black society, the question of masculinity and female gender issue seems to be treated one way, like, oh, the men are always superior. And like I always argue, it's okay, it's there, she will attest to it. I always argue that, look, these are colonial thought mentality. There is gender balance in our traditional society. In the question of objects, majority of the objects that are being restituted are being connected today. There are body ornaments that are specifically made to adorn the women folks. If you look at the commemorative heads, yesterday, Dr. Owen presented something about dressing and costume, and she tried to use a commemorative head. Among the commemorative heads that are globally circulated, if you go to the website, there are some that were specifically made for women. We are made to commemorate our great women in Benin Kingdom. So if today the question of discussion and debate are coming up, the issue of masculinity should not be, it's not a subject, because it's a question of how was that society preserved, documented through this material culture. So if we have a good knowledge of this material culture, of this object, we'll be able to tell where the women sideline, where was it just male supremacy. And I think in a nutshell, the issue of gender equality in our society is well preserved and respected. I've told some people, I've had a research where I begin to find out that there are very strong women in Benin. And I tell you, I'm sorry to say, after the Oba, the strongest person in Benin is a woman, and it's called Osukbo. You can read my research on the Osukbo in the Benin Red Book. So the interesting question you have asked, I'm very happy about this, my brother. In songs, there are songs rendition in Benin Kingdom. Without these songs, certain festivals and ceremonies will not hold. And who renders these songs? Women. And all of these are integrated into our culture. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we have a few more minutes. Number 2, please.
Thank you.
Yes, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much. Maybe I should call it observational question.
Okay.
One, but I find this very songs. Thank you very much for that presentation. I would like to suggest those songs you just finished said they are without physical instrumental accompaniments, or they have instruments from there. That's number 1. Number 2, the song you sing in the way I saw the slide, just go in like thinking. So we have styles in music. They call it what your son is calling response. So you put the call, we are doing your right song. Call CALL ... The person that is calling, then they respond what all these has to say. So you do arrow P SP ... You put that response there. So that should be help package your work very well.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Secondly, to Madam, Dr. Peja said, the last speaker, yes, you were talking about classical and old music. That's the case I want to. I've already sent for the following before time.
Yes.
I want to say my little understanding that can be what we're doing, bringing in, rebirthing traditional music or indigenous music into a new style now. So now what the child is doing popular parts. The popular music, not classical. Classicals are those songs that are written, scored. They carry paper, the one that is mostly among the Eastern, the Western, the Europeans. The one you put on paper and start reading, you must read every note accordingly. But this is a freestyle kind of music. Anything goes, it's a popular music. So it's a rebirth of popular music. Yes. And
it's maybe also a folk song that's been
it's a folk song, so traditional folk or indigenous song.
Classical.
Instead of using classical.
A bit of traditional song.
Yeah, it's folk.
It's a folk
yeah.
song.
Not all of them are sung.
What I listen to now is a popular style. What people are doing, the new thing they are doing now is popular style. So I don't know where you're coming from.
A bit of popular style of music.
Yeah, it's popular, not classical. It's a genre of music.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Another music question to add.
So,
Another music.
yes, the question is, I think you are
Let's ask.
okay, you can ask your question, please.
All right. Thank you so much. I have a question for, okay, I can say that. For the language, that's the woman in the middle. I understand what you're doing and it's a very good job. And thank you for trying to restore cultural languages back to some of us that grew up in Lagos and can't remember our identity. But I have a concern with your research question and objective. You're using the word vernacular. I understand the dictionary meaning of vernacular. I understand that it's not anything wrong, but you need to contextualize the word vernacular. I've been in schools in Ibadan that I'll tell those teachers that don't ever call Yoruba vernacular language.
Yes.
Don't use that. It's a Yoruba language.
Yes.
Don't speak Yoruba language, not don't speak vernacular. No, because it looks like a second language. So if you're trying to make it, we're trying to decolonize in the traditional way, the way it's being performed, then at what point did it move? Then the continuity part of it. And like you said, for preservation, no problem. But also, you can also look at where at that point of change, it's not just about preservation alone. It's not about just continuity alone. It also might be about the heritage, about maybe, a lot of things can happen in between, but that's what I think you should trace since you're using that theory called change and continuity theory. I think I'll just stop there and then allow others to. And how it was and what is happening now with the music.
Thank you very much. Please, let me quickly ask my question. I want to pose my question to the final speaker. Thank you so much, everybody. You did so wonderfully well and expanded my knowledge. You were talking about the sons of legends, those who have been singing and all of that. And from what you presented, what I got was, preservation of culture from every presenter anyway, and bringing the next generation, connecting the next generation. But I didn't really get, I don't know, maybe in the full work it will come out. How does it benefit the next generation beyond preservation of culture? Because when you study culture, you are grounding it in let's preserve it. If not, why are we studying it? We could just let it go extinct. But at this point, of what benefit is it to the next generation, the sons coming and coming and coming? The other question I wanted to ask, he has asked it. So thank you very much.
Okay. What she was asking you was the songs you are singing, are they accompanied with instruments, or they are just like that, or hand, how should that be?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. These songs, they are not usually accompanied with instruments. When the women are rendering these songs, like you heard my colleague presenter said earlier,
What they do is to clap. Yes, they clap their hands. Yes. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm not musical. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. And for the brother that talked about the aspect of the continuity, actually, time did not permit me to discuss in details what my paper actually captured. If not, I would have been able to. They are all captured in my paper, the continuity. If you read my paper further, you see that along the line, the process of traditional marriage ceremony and activities change in terms of in terms of the betrothal stage. The different stages of betrothal that was on before the 1934 when it was abolished, a lot of things changed.
After the seminar or the presentation, you can discuss more outside because our time is fast spent. Our time is already gone. So you just have 1 second to respond.
Thank you so very much, sir. I'm elated by your comments and I sincerely appreciate it. However, when talking about decolonization, I think that it will also require re-evaluation of some form of African philosophy. For example, I can relate to what you said about vernacular. It's happening to all of us, right? So in school, when you speak a new language, for example, when you have the teacher say, why are you talking in vernacular? Or actually, the dictionary meaning of the word vernacular is a language spoken as one's mother tongue, right? Not learned or imposed as a second language. It's clear, that's vernacular, right? So I think that Africans kind of brought the derogatory remark on us by, commenting vernacular. That's why in my paper, I put the word vernacular, in inverted commas. All right. And in the thorough work, we're actually going to be looking at it in detail. How this has also affected, reaction towards language and language. Thank you so much.
Let me. Okay. Please, is he online? What's the person's name? No, that's me.
Time is up.
Okay, time is not on our side. So let's quickly, somebody asked, what is the benefit of these songs, this value? Yes, we are rounding up. Beyond the cultural preservation and all that. So first and foremost, these songs have brought unity among the song, especially that of the Edo music legend. We have so many ethnic groups in Edo State, not just Benin. So now we all now coming together. You go to this ethnic group, you pick somebody that has that has been legendary and pick his son, take them to Europe, they go to America, all of them. We are all not speaking the same language, but we can hear each other little by little. And now we are singing in the same concert, and we are all together talking about Benin, Isha, Afema, all the different ethnic groups in Edo State. All of them being united as a result of this project. So thank you very much, and I appreciate 24 Bits for what you are doing. You are there for the unity that you have brought in Benin. Thank you. Thank you for coming to this panel. Tomorrow by 11, we have